Lesson 3.8, Slope of Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. So the goal this time is to be able to relate the slope to parallel and perpendicular lines. And this is a review lesson. You guys have done this in Algebra 1, but we're just going to go over it as the topic for geometry right now is parallel and perpendicular lines. So if you remember, parallel lines have the same slope. And perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. So if you do not remember what negative reciprocal is when you flip a number and make it an opposite sign. So negative reciprocal slopes, when you multiply them, you get -1 as your answer. So for example, 3/4, if I flip it, it's going to be 4/3. And since 3/4 is positive, this is going to be negative. So if you see 2, it's 2 over 1. So if I flip it, it's going to be 1 over 2. And since 2 over 1 is positive, this is going to be negative. Now number 3, it's already -7 over 8. So I'm going to flip it. Since it's negative, the negative reciprocal is going to be positive. 1 over 1 is the same thing, so I'm just going to make it -1. And 0 over 1, the reciprocal would be 1 over 0, -1 over 0, which is going to be undefined. So these are your horizontal line and your vertical line. So let's try this example. Are the following lines parallel? So if it's parallel, they have to have the same slope. So that means from the graph, we have to do, if you remember how to find slope using graph, you have to do rise over run. So you have two lines, L1 and L2. So let's do a rise over run. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 up. And 1, 2, 3. 3 over in the negative direction. So that is going to be 9 over -3, which simplifies to -3. Let's try our line 2. So line 2, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 up, 1, 2, 2 in the negative direction. So 7 over -2. This cannot simplify. So is -3 and -7 over 2 the same slope? No, so these lines are not parallel. Since the slope are not the same. So let's do this with perpendicular lines. For perpendicular lines, it has to be negative reciprocal slopes. So I'm going to do my line 1 and my line 2. Again, when you do slopes, it's rise over 1, so rise over run. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in the positive direction. So it's -6 over 4, which simplifies to -3 over 2. And we'll do our next line. So let's do line 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 over. And they're both going in positive directions, so 6 over 9, which simplifies to 2 over 3. So is negative 3 over 2 and 2 over 3, when you multiply them, do you get negative 1? Well, yeah, if these cross out, so it's negative 1. So these are perpendicular. Because they are negative reciprocal. All right, so this time, instead of giving you a graph, I'm giving you line A and 2 points, and line 3 with 2 points, and line 4 with 2 points. So this time you have to use the slope formula to find the slopes for both lines. So slope formula, if you remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we'll do separately line 3 and line 4. So line 3, I'm going to say this is my x1, y1, x2, y2. So that means I'm going to do 2 minus 6 over negative 1 minus negative 13. So 2 minus 6 gives me negative 4. And when I subtract a negative, it becomes positive. So negative 1 plus 13 gives me 12, which simplifies to negative 1/3. My next line, I'm going to do the same thing. x1, y1, x2, y2. So the next line, I'm going to do 7 minus 6 over 6 minus 3. So I get 7 minus 6 is 1, and 6 minus 3 is 3. So is negative 1/3 equal to 1/3? No. Because one's negative, one's positive, so they're not the same. They do not have the same slope. We're going to try the same thing with perpendicular lines. So same thing, your same formula, let's say line 3 and line 4. So this time we're doing negative 1 minus 7 over 3 minus 2. So I get negative 8 over 1, which is negative 8. And for line 4, I'm going to do 7 minus 6 over 8 minus negative 2. So 7 minus 6 is 1, and 8 minus negative 2 makes it 8 plus 2, which is 10. So again, are these slopes negative reciprocals? Are they flipped and opposite signs? They're opposite signs, but if I flip negative 8 over 1, it should be 1 over 8, not 1 over 10. So no, they are not perpendicular. As the slopes are not negative reciprocals. All right, so now we're going to move on to writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. So when you have parallel lines, you know I give you this line, and I'm telling you I have another line that goes through that point. So the only thing I'm going to take from this, if you remember, it's y equals mx plus b. Your m represents your slope. So in a parallel line, your slopes are the same. So in this case, I'm going to use the same slope. So my m is -3. And I'm given the point, so this is my x and my y. So in my equation, y equals mx plus b, I'm going to plug in whatever I have. So y is 8, m is -3, x is -1. I do not have my b. I'm going to try to find my b. So 8 equals 3 plus b. I'm going to subtract my 3, and I get b equals 5. So my final equation is going to be y equals, my slope is -3, x, my b, my new b, is plus 5. And that is it. So you just need your slope, and you use the new points to find your b. Because x and y is always going to change depending on what you plug in. Same thing with perpendicular line. This is your m. So for perpendicular, you want the negative reciprocal. So if it's 1 over 5, you want -5 over 1. Over 1 just means -5. So again, you have your point, you have your x and your y. So I'm going to plug it in into my y equals mx plus b. So my y is -4. My m is -5. My x is 15 plus b. So -4 equals -5 times 15 gives me -75 plus b. I'm going to add 75 on both sides, and I get b equals 71. So again, same thing I'm going to do. Y equals, again, it's perpendicular, so I'm going to use this slope, not the one from here, because it's perpendicular to that line. So -5x plus 71. All right, this is all for the lesson. I know from your notes I haven't done, for example, 5 and example 6. We haven't done B. We will use those questions to go over in class. All right. Have a nice day.